Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB schedule for Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to leave your comment down below with what your picks are in baseball for Wednesday. Now, if you're looking for my best bets or best bets from some of the top handicappers in the world today, be sure to check out the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into the games for Wednesday, April 20th. For our first game on the board, we're going to look at the contest between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Milwaukee Brewers. Mitch Keller and Brandon Woodruff, the projected starters here. Now, I don't think there's a ton of value in this game just because the money line price is really steep. So steep that the run line isn't even that good of a price either. But I do think it's Brewers minus 1.5 or pass, in my opinion. Mitch Keller just has not shown me any signs of improvements. He's already got a 9.39 ERA, 0-2 record, a 2.35 whip. That's just not going to get it done against Brandon Woodruff, who did struggle quite a bit in spring and in his first start of the year, but was fantastic in his next start, his most recent one against the Cardinals. 5 innings of shutout baseball, only 3 hits and a walk allowed in that one. So with Woodruff coming off his best start in a while and Keller really struggling to start the year, I got to go with Milwaukee, laying the 1.5. It's just a small lean in this one. Next up, we have the Atlanta Braves taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tony Gonsolin and Charlie Morton, the projected starters for this one. Now, we're going to see one of the steeper totals of the day in this game with the total set at 9.5. And I like the over in this game. You look, both teams can score plenty of runs. Dodgers, one of the best offenses in baseball right now, scoring runs at a great rate. And Charlie Morton for the Braves has really struggled to start the year. 6.10 ERA. He's pitched 10 1/3 innings, allowed 11 base hits, 7 earned runs, and 4 walks, giving him a 1.452 whip as well. But Tony Gonsolin, although his ERA is much lower, he actually has a much higher whip, a 1.714 whip, because he's given up a lot more base runners in the amount of innings he's pitched. 7 innings, 8 base hits, and 4 walks. A lot of guys are getting on base. I know Gonsolin's been able to get out of jams for the most part, but he only has 5 strikeouts. So those jams, he's been getting contact outs, and that's where it gets really scary for me in this one. I think the total's steep for a reason, and I like the over in this game. I think we're going to see both teams chip into the total. Could be an exciting one, but I'm going to take the over in Braves-Dodgers. Next up, we have yet another doubleheader. Welcome to spring baseball, everybody. The White Sox taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Now, these two teams were supposed to play on Monday, got rained out. They weren't going to do a doubleheader on Tuesday, but didn't matter. That got rained out as well, so now they're forced to do a doubleheader here. And we got a lot of uncertainty with this one. We should see Dallas Keuchel and Shane Bieber as the starters in Game 1. And then in Game 2, Jimmy Lambert and Tristan McKenzie. Now, as far as starting pitchers go, I think the Guardians have the clear advantage in both games. I'm not a big fan of either Keuchel or Jimmy Lambert. I think the Guardians are going to be able to get to both of them in this one. But it's going to be really tough for any team to sweep a doubleheader at any moment, no matter who's on the mound to start the game. I'm going to take the Guardians in Game 1 on the money line like I have the last 2 days. And I'm going to take the Guardians in the first 5 innings in Game 2. Because I do like that matchup with McKenzie and Lambert. I think the Guardians are able to take the lead after the first 5 in that Game 2 of the doubleheader. But the White Sox bullpen and late bats could get to Cleveland late in that game to take the win in Game 2. So just to be safe, I'm going to take the first 5 in Game 2 for Cleveland. And then the Guardians full game, Game 1. I know it's a little tricky and confusing, but I'll put it, make sure it's on the screen so you guys can read it as well. Now that doubleheader mess is out of the way, let's get into our next game with the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Colorado Rockies. Zach Eflin and German Marquez on the mound for this one. Now, I was not impressed with Zach Eflin's most recent performance. I thought he looked really strong on the mound against the A's in his season debut. But against the Marlins, he was rocked. He pitched 4 innings, allowed 6 hits and 4 earned runs to arguably a pretty weak lineup. And now you got to take on the Colorado Rockies at Coors Field against a pitcher in German Marquez that pitches very well at Coors Field. He didn't necessarily look too great in his last start. The Rockies were able to get the win in that one, but he did allow 10 hits and 4 earned runs. But I still think he's the better option than Eflin in this one. And with how Colorado plays at home and the struggles that we've seen from the Phillies on the road this season, I got to take the Rockies at a pretty good price here at Coors Field on the money line. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the San Diego Padres. Vladimir Gutierrez and Mackenzie Gore, a pair of young pitchers going at it in this one. Now, I think this game's going to be pretty low scoring in my opinion. I think the total is a little too high, so I would lean to the under, but because I think it's going to be a little low scoring, I also do like the Reds getting the 1.5 on the run line as the underdog here. And I think both of these pitchers, I think Mackenzie Gore looked pretty good in his first outing in the majors. Some things you'd want to improve on. He did allow a home run, a couple walks in that one, but for the most part, didn't get hit too badly against a really good Braves lineup. On the other side, Vladimir Gutierrez, although he has a 5.4 ERA, he does have 7 strikeouts in 8 1/3 innings. Isn't too bad, and he did face 2 very tough lineups to start the year, both on the road, the Dodgers and the Braves. I think he improved a little bit from his first start to his next, and I do think we see even more improvements from him in this start as well. I think Vladimir Gutierrez does have a lot of potential in the majors. I've seen some signs of him that tell me he could be a solid option out of the Reds rotation this year and going forward. So in this game, give me the Reds as the dog here, getting the 1.5. I think it's a 1-run game either way, and I think Cincinnati can cover. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Houston Astros. Shohei Ohtani and Jake Odorizzi, the projected starters for this one. Now, I'm going to have to fade Jake Odorizzi yet again in this start and take the Angels on the money line at a pretty good price on the road. I know the Angels are dealing with some injuries in the lineup, but Jake Odorizzi, he was an all-star in 2019 with the Twins, 15-7 record, 3.51 ERA. He's a guy that had a high-velocity fastball that he was able to locate and miss some bats and pick up a lot of strikeouts. He had 10.1 strikeouts per 9 in 2019. But ever since that season, his strikeout numbers have gone down and down and down. 7.9 strikeouts per 9 in 2020, 7.8, a little bit of a downgrade in 2021. And then now this year, he's only got 3.2 strikeouts per 9. He's had 3 strikeouts in 8 1/3 innings with the Astros this season. He leads the majors in base hits allowed. He's allowed 14 base hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks allowed. And I think he's in trouble yet again against the Angels here. Give me the Halos on the money line. Next up, we have the New York Yankees taking on the Detroit Tigers. Luis Severino and Eduardo Rodriguez going at it in this one. Now, Eduardo Rodriguez had a lot of success against the Yankees lineup last season. He was 2-0 with a 3.13 ERA in 23 innings against the Yankees last year. He had 32 strikeouts in those innings as well. And I know Rodriguez has struggled a little bit to start this season, but so have the Yankees' bats. Not consistent at all. We haven't seen any kind of consistency from the Yankees lineup whatsoever. And Luis Severino on the other side has pitched well for the Yankees. I do think both teams struggle to score in this game. I think the total's super low for a good reason. So give me the under in the Yankees-Tigers. Next up, we have the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Miami Marlins. I don't think there's a ton of value betting-wise in this game, but I do think it's going to be a pretty competitive one. When you look at how these starting pitchers match up, they're pretty darn similar. Sandy Alcantara and Miles Mikolas right around 7 Ks per 9. Both have a 1-0 record on the year and solid ERAs as well. I do think Alcantara is a slightly better option, especially at his home park in this game. So I'm going to lean towards the Marlins in the first 5 innings of this one. Don't necessarily trust the Marlins bullpen late in this game. I could see the Cardinals getting to the fish late in this one, but for the first 5 innings, I'll take the Marlins on the money line. Next up, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Washington Nationals. These two teams are going to meet for the 3rd time in 2 days as they played a doubleheader on Tuesday afternoon and evening. Now, in this one, we're going to see Merrill Kelly and Eric Fedde as the projected starters. And I do like the Nationals to win this game. I'm going to take them on the money line here. I think Merrill Kelly is a really good option the Diamondbacks have in their rotation. I'm just not impressed at all with how this Diamondbacks lineup has looked like. It has been extremely weak this season. Team batting average is one of the worst in the league, and they're just not manufacturing any runs. The bottom of the lineup is really struggling. Even the top of the lineup, guys like Ketel Marte haven't really got going yet. And with a Soto, Cruz, and Bell punch that the Nationals have in the middle of their order, I just think their offense is a lot better. And I think Fedde's a solid option in the rotation. He pitched well in his first 2 starts of the year. Only 2 earned runs allowed in both of those starts. He's had 11 strikeouts in 10 innings. And, one could argue that he is the better option in this matchup. But it is pretty close, and I think the Nationals just have the clear advantage in the lineup. Bullpen's pretty close as well. So give me the Nats on the money line in this one. Next up, we have the San Francisco Giants taking on the New York Mets. If you're a fan of really good pitching matchups, this is the series for you. We've already seen McGill and Cobb go at it. Then we saw Scherzer and Logan Webb. And now we're going to get Mr. Carlos Rodon and Chris Bassett going at it in this one. Carlos Rodon, what could be more said about him? 21 strikeouts in 12 innings. That leads baseball in strikeouts thus far. And Chris Bassett looking like a monster budget baller pickup that the Mets made in the offseason. He's 2-0 with a .7 ERA. A great, affordable pickup that the Mets made. And he's going to be the middle rotation this season. He's looked great. I know he's faced two weak lineups in the Diamondbacks and the Nationals. Going to be the toughest test he's seen in the Mets uni in this one. But I like the under in this game. I just think runs are going to be hard to come by when you look at how well these starters have pitched thus far. Both of these lineups, we've seen the best. We've also seen some of the worst from the lineups as well. Inconsistencies here and there. So give me the under 7 in this game. Pretty low total, but it's for a good reason. Next up, we have the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Boston Red Sox. And unlike the game I just talked about, the Giants and the Mets, I'm going to take the over in this game, the Blue Jays and Red Sox. Two pitchers that have really struggled to start the year, Jose Barrios and Nick Pivetta. Now, Barrios does have the worst ERA when you're looking at these two guys, 11.81 ERA for Barrios, a 9.39 for Pivetta. But I do think Barrios is the better option, and that's why the Blue Jays are a pretty sizable favorite in this game. I just can't lay that price with Toronto on the road when Barrios really just hasn't shown us much. He gave up 3 earned and 2 home runs against a pretty weak Yankees lineup thus far. I know it's the Yankees on paper look great, but overall the Yankees have struggled in offense. And then he gave up 4 earned runs in only 1/3 of an inning against the Rangers. That's what really exploded his ERA. Now Pivetta on the other side, he's 0-2 this season. Got the loss in both starts of his, and he got blown up in both games. 4 earned runs against the Yankees, 4 earned runs against the Twins. He's allowed 3 home runs in 8 2/3 innings, 5 walks in those innings, only 6 strikeouts. So really, I can't trust either of these starters. We know both of these teams can hit, especially Toronto. So give me the over in this Blue Jays Red Sox game at a hitter's ballpark in Fenway Park. I'm going to take the over. In our next game, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Chicago Cubs. Now, this is a pretty ugly game for me overall because I just don't really trust either starting pitcher very much so at all in this matchup. Drew Rasmussen and Marcus Stroman, the projected starters. I do think both guys are going to be pulled pretty early in this game. The reason why I wouldn't take the overs is because we're going to have to see how that Chicago weather's looking like in the morning. That's why the totals don't come out until the next morning at Wrigley Field. It's all about the wind. And, I think Drew Rasmussen, a guy that's going to be really hoping that the wind's blowing in Chicago because he's allowed a home run in both of his first 2 starts. Marcus Stroman hasn't necessarily been very strong on the mound either with the Cubs thus far. And to me, it's going to be which team can manage this game the best, manage the bullpen and the lineups. And I got to give the edge to Kevin Cash, who I think is the best manager in baseball right now. The Rays are pretty much designed to play in these types of games where maybe their starter doesn't go too far in the first few innings. They're able to get some relief guys to go 4, 5, 6 innings. And I think that the Rays are going to be able to take this one on the road. Pretty good price we're getting with Tampa, so give me the Rays on the money line. Next up, we have the Minnesota Twins taking on the Kansas City Royals. Chris Paddock and Daniel Lynch, the projected starters for this one. I just can't get behind Lynch and the Royals at home here. When we look at what he did in his first start of the year, really struggled. 5 innings, 9 hits, 6 earned runs, and 3 home runs allowed in his season debut. I know Chris Paddock wasn't the sharpest in his debut either, but I think he is the better option in this one. I do think the Twins have the better lineup as well. And, I think they're going to hit a few long balls in this game. Lynch has had trouble with the long ball in his career thus far, so give me the Twins on the money line. I think it's a decent price because they are the road team, so I'll take the Twins and lay the money line price. Next up, we have the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Oakland A's. Now, this one I'm going to take a shot with the A's on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. It's not my favorite play on the board, but you got to look at how the A's have just been completely outperforming expectations this season. Dalton Jeffries and Jordan Lyles, the projected starters as of now. We could see a pitching change in this one, but with Jeffries looking the way he has, I don't think he's going to be able to sustain this 1.93 ERA. He only has 4 Ks in 9 1/3 innings, which does worry me a little bit. But for the most part, he hasn't given up too many base runners. He just took on a really tough Blue Jays lineup and held them to 2 earned runs. He shut out the Phillies in 5 innings of work, and now he's facing the weakest lineup he's seen this season. So I do think he'll have some success here. On the other side, Jordan Lyles, although his ERA is only at 5.23, it could be a lot higher in my opinion when you look at the base runners he's allowing. 6 hits and 7 hits against the Yankees and Rays, 2 walks and 3 walks in those 2 starts as well. So he's giving up a ton of base runners. The runs really haven't been pouring in, but I think this could be the spot where they do. The Oakland lineup is just completely broken through those expectations. They're scoring runs at a good rate. They're pitching pretty well, and I think the A's can win this game by 2 or more at home. Next up, our final game of the night, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Seattle Mariners. Dane Dunning and Logan Gilbert, the projected starters for this one. Now, Gilbert is off to a strong start this year, 1-0 with a .9 ERA, 11 strikeouts in 10 innings of work, and a .8 whip. There's really just no way I can fade him in this spot. When you look on the other side, Dane Dunning, sure, he does have 11 strikeouts in 8 2/3 innings. I'd like to see that. He's also given up a home run, though, in each of his first 2 starts. His ERA is at 5.19. He's allowed 4 walks in both of those starts, 11 base hits combined. And I just think Gilbert is the better starter. I think the Mariners are the better team, better bullpen, and they're at home. And the price isn't too shabby either. I think it's a bettable price with Seattle. So I'm going to take the Mariners as the home favorite here on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday, April 20th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to put your picks in the comments section below for the games in baseball for Wednesday. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.